Meanwhile, Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger will comply with a special counsel subpoena for security video from an Atlanta polling site linked to Trump's election fraud claims. It comes during a week of new developments in the criminal cases against the former president. So CBS News investigative reporter Graham Cates is joining us now to break it all down. I'm so happy that you are here because you have been on this beat from the very beginning, running around New York City for the cases here. And so you always have it very well organized in your mind. Let's start with the other federal investigation. What's happening with the classified documents case in Florida?
Sure. So that's the same special counsel. He's overseeing two separate investigations. There's the one you just mentioned, which has not yet led to charges. But then there's the one for which former President Trump was charged last month. And that was for 37 felony counts related to the willful retention of national security information.
Okay.
Trump, of course, entered a not guilty plea. He's repeatedly criticized special counsel Jack Smith in this case and called the case political. There was a hearing related to this just yesterday, and they're just working out at this point the schedule for the trial. The special counsel's office wants it to be in December. They say, when you take away all of the kind of theatrics around the case, it's actually a pretty simple thing, and we can get the trial started soon. On the other hand, Trump is saying, I don't want to do this until after the election. They've suggested November 2024.
Right.
And we're waiting to see where the judge, Eileen Cannon, is going to sit on this. She said she's going to make a decision on that soon. And then after that, we can really start rolling with the kind of pretrial stuff, like processing of the discovery and all of that. But we're just waiting on this first scheduling order.
Okay, so that one's down. We also know that the grand jury in Georgia is investigating similar allegations of election interference. There's a lot of overlap. Do you know anything about what they found and when we could possibly see any sort of charging in this case? Because I think it was a little confusing for people because there was like a grand jury partial report that was released, and then we heard about like another grand jury sitting, but it's all kind of connected.
Sure, that is complicated. So for about 6 months last year, this thing called a special purpose grand jury was investigating Trump and his allies' behavior after the 2020 election in Georgia. And this all started, you remember there was this infamous phone call that was recorded where Trump asked the Secretary of State for Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, for 11,780 votes, which was how many he needed to win the state, which he lost. And that the DA's investigation began with that. But they made this special grand jury, which had the ability to subpoena people, and they interviewed 75 witnesses. It did not have the ability to indict. Instead, it made this lengthy report, we think lengthy, and the judge and the overseeing it said, we can release one section of the report to the public. And it was just this one little section that didn't have anything to do with Trump, that had to do with potential perjury committed before the special purpose grand jury. So now we think sometime between July 31st and roughly the middle of August, their findings are going to be presented to a traditional grand jury. And what a traditional grand jury does is they simply say there's enough evidence to indict. Not necessarily that a conviction is coming, but that you can press charges against one or more people. And the indications are that Trump may be one of the people charged in that, as well as others of his allies.
Wow. Okay. Now I understand why sometimes people wonder, like, this seems to be taking forever, but that's why there are sort of a lot of required steps because, it's a serious accusation, right?
Yeah, I mean, this in some ways it began January 2nd, 2021, and we're just getting to this kind of crucial moment now.
Yeah. Trump's also facing a lot of legal trouble here, as you know, because you put in your steps going between the courthouses. Can you walk us through the two cases here in New York?
Sure. So first, the Manhattan DA's criminal investigation. This was the first time a former president has ever been indicted on March 30th. And this was, he was accused of 34 counts of falsification of business records related to, bear with me here, reimbursements for a payment that his former attorney, Michael Cohen, made to the adult film star Stormy Daniels days before the 2016 presidential election.
Right.
And so in that case, he denies all of the allegations, and he says this is the theme here, that the prosecutor is going after him for politics.
Right.
Now, this case is scheduled to be heard at trial March 2024. That's the heat of the primaries. And the judge has indicated there's very little anyone can do to delay that trial at this point. The only effort that they have, though, there's two things. They've asked the judge to recuse himself because a couple of years ago he gave two very, very small, a total of $25 donations to Democratic causes. And they've also tried to get the case moved to federal jurisdiction, so out of the state courts where they think, in New York, they think they've had a bad run of things. And yesterday, a federal judge said, no way. They had heard arguments in it. He said this case belongs in state court. And he actually issued this very lengthy decision, kind of knocking a lot of the arguments that Trump and his team have made against the case altogether. It was a much lengthier decision than I think either side expected. And so that case is moving forward as far as we know at this point. We're expecting a trial in March. And this is the one that dates back the longest. This is from before he was president.
And this is one that you would think is probably, it may be kind of a little bit most concerning for other reasons, because it's sort of a state level case. If he becomes the president, or if maybe another Republican becomes the president and wants to sort of clear him of all these legal issues, they can do it for federal cases, but they wouldn't be able to do it for a state case, right?
Yeah, in both New York and Georgia, whoever is president has no ability to pardon you for a state crime.
Right.
And also, just last year, a New York State jury, under the same judge, found his company guilty of 17 felonies, 2 of his companies under the Trump Organization umbrella. And it was a unanimous, a very quick verdict. So this is a courtroom where he has not had a good history. And that's one of the reasons we think that they wanted to move it to another court.
And oh man. All right, Graham Cates, thank you so much.
Thank you.